Welcome to TYT Sports and RotoWire. Jason Rubin joined by Ben Mankiewicz and Chris Liss from RotoWire.com. We're going to go over some Super Bowl odds for the 2015-2016 year. The quick point is that it's been 4 years since the Giants won the Super Bowl.
Right.
And every 4 years the Giants win the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So am I wrong here in saying that we all should be betting the New York Giants for a Super Bowl?
I would have said you were correct until Jason Pierre-Paul senselessly blew off a finger, and now I don't know what his status is, and that really hurts. That was their best, defensive player.
I'm looking forward to an 8-8 backing into the playoffs type of season for my New York Football Giants. But let's start with the AFC actually, and go through the odds for their conference champion. The Colts are the outright favorite for the AFC, plus 300, followed by the Patriots, Broncos, Ravens, Steelers, and Bills. Ben?
Well, first let me just say that I don't think the Colts would be the outright favorite if those top six teams made the playoffs. They're the favorite because they are by far the most likely team to win their division, which means they're going to the playoffs and they're certain to host a first-round game and maybe, obviously, get a bye. If they get a bye, then they probably would stay the favorite because that division is so weak. They're an overwhelming favorite to win their division. In the AFC South, they're minus 400 to win that division.
Right.
So, but there's sort of a thought that this is what their third year in the playoffs. This will be the third year, right?
This is where they graduate. They made it a little further.
They
last
made it a
year.
little further last year.
They beat the Broncos last year.
Beat the Broncos in Denver. I mean,
with a hobbled Peyton Manning.
If Jack were here, he'd be like, one, a hobbled Peyton Manning, and B, a playoff Peyton Manning. So what's the accomplishment?
Right. Only Rex Grossman cannot beat a playoff Peyton Manning.
Right. So that's right. So, but that said, yes, they did play better, and then they got annihilated as they did previously. So, but the step up. The question, of course, for them, as always, is still their defense. Yeah,
their D is not going to be. It's not projected to be good, and plus 300 is just not enough. It's just not enough.
It's not enough yet. Right.
They're not better than even money against the Patriots or one of the other good teams.
So put the number of Chris. Where's the value on the AFC conference?
I like the Ravens at plus 1,100. They were toe-to-toe with the Patriots who won the Super Bowl. They easily could have won that game. They were up 2 touchdowns. They lost, Torrey Smith, who's a good player.
Twice.
Twice they're up 2 touchdowns. But their D is going to be good. I think John Harbaugh's a really good coach. They'll figure it out. We'll figure whether it's Brashad Perriman or somebody else stepping up. I think the Ravens getting 11-1. I think the Bengals at 18-1 are not bad. Andy Dalton's the problem. But remember, last year we played without any weapons. They were all hurt. They're all back now. They have a good offensive line. So I'd probably take Baltimore and Cincinnati, although that is the toughest division. So it kind of undercut. They sound great individually, but you're right. It does depend on getting in the playoffs. And they got Pittsburgh there. I guess
right, and there's a good bet that you come out of that division at a bare minimum, unlikely to be, because of the nature of that division, unlikely you're getting a first-round bye.
That's right, and that's so huge when you're talking about betting on who's going to win the conference.
That's right.
So and Chris, Ravens, Ben?
I like the Ravens also for those same reasons. I'm coming around on Joe Flacco. I go back. He still made his money for a mistake and jump. But that said, he can get it done. He's good enough. I like the Chiefs for the same reason that you like the Bengals. Just as another team where there's enough of a payoff there at 16-1. And I think Alex Smith has shown that he's good enough to get it there. They did upgrade the receiving core, and again, they stay healthy. That a pretty good, no, not even a pretty good defense. The defense being capable of being great, and enough weapons on offense. I like the Chiefs and the possibility that that division is more up for grabs than perhaps people think.
All right, so let's move on to the NFC side of the table, which is graphic number 3. If we can see that real quick to take a look at the odds. The Packers at plus 300, tied with the Seahawks, also at plus 300. And then it gets interesting. The Cowboys, Eagles, Cardinals, Giants, Vikings, and I guess 49ers aren't going to stop that one because I feel like this is a more competitive side of the side of the NFL when it comes to the NFC. Ben, you started last time. So, Chris, who do you like out of the NFC to go to the Super Bowl this year?
I like the favorites, but I wouldn't bet on the favorites because, again, 3-1 is just not enough for me. I can't bet on the Cowboys out of principle as a Giants fan. The Giants.
So you start on that second row.
Right. And the Giants also, I would have taken them again. If Jason Pierre-Paul hadn't lost a finger and now he's iffy, that really hurts them, although I don't mind them at 14-1. The ones I kind of like are the Saints at 20-1. They still have Drew Brees. They made some moves to improve the defense. They made some moves to improve the offensive line. I think that, 20-1, Sean Payton and Drew Brees, I'll gamble on that.
Because of the openness of the division, the same reason why you, to some extent, like the Saints, the Falcons at 22-1, still a really competent group offensively. Their collapse last year puzzling, but you can't dismiss it. I mean, they were bad.
It happened.
It happened. It did happen, and there wasn't an obvious. It's not a collapse. You don't look at it and go, well, their quarterback was hurt. They just didn't win games.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by them, but looking at that, it is hard to. I can't take the Cowboys on principle too, but I would say that of that, what's up there, the Cowboys and the Giants seem like the best bets. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm leaving out the team I like best because I bet on them 3 months ago to win a nice size bet to win the Super Bowl because the odds were so good. I bet the Cardinals to win the Super Bowl. And I get it that was an overachieving team that won a lot of close games that probably can't be replicated. The flip side, they had terrible quarterback play. They were doing it with good quarterback play, winning close games too. And they lost their defensive coordinator, but I really believe in Bruce Arians, and I suspect that defense will still be good, and the offense, obviously, if Palmer is healthy, will be better. And I think that especially to win the Super Bowl, the odds on them are so attractive. Yes, I probably threw $250 away, but it is a payoff that will make it interesting.
You just got to get to the playoffs and you start hedging. That's right.
So speaking of the Super Bowl, let's take a look at that card itself for who will be, or at least the odds for the Super Bowl champion of 2016. Packers and Seahawks. Again, the NFC showing its strength at 5.5 to 1, but those aren't the fun bets. That's not the bets that are going to make your money. Ben, did you get these odds? Where are the Cardinals on this? Did you get 40 to 1 odds on the Cardinals?
Yeah, I have basically $250 to win $10,000 on the Cardinals to win the Super Bowl. And again, this is a good team that it was a good team last year that played good defense. I read 538 about them shortly after I made the bet, and it was sort of indisputable about man, there was a tremendous amount of luck in them winning the games they did last year.
The NFL is such a reshuffle league year to year that the fact they were lucky and maybe not as good as you thought last year doesn't mean anything. This is a new team.
No, all it means is that they probably weren't as good as their record showed last year. It doesn't mean anything for this year.
Right. They could have been 8-8 last year, which they should have been, and they could still win the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
One of the interesting ones that you guys haven't touched on too much is the Steelers, and it's for one of the first times in their franchise history they're not boasting their defense. Their defense is actually pretty weak compared to, at least on paper, which doesn't really say much until the season begins.
Yeah, they've been bad defensively 2 years now.
Yeah. And their offense, though, does boast, as we talked in who's the number one player in fantasy football. Please check out that clip as well.
Number one player, number one back, number one receiver. Right.
The top 2 PPR draft picks in the NFFC, which is a high-stakes, very reliable ADP generator because everybody's paying a lot of money. There's no half-assing it. The top 2 players are Bell and Antonio Brown. On the same team, on the same offense.
I think that offense, and with the coaching that they have, which is so important to the NFL, I think the Steelers aren't a terrible bet. That's who I put my money on. Now, the difference between my money and Ben's money going on it is when Ben makes ridiculous bets and he wins them, TYT Sports gets free lunch. Nice little side. Yeah. Chris, you are welcome to come to free lunch on Ben Mankiewicz.
I'll be there.
Win the Super Bowl.
I'll be there.
Zach Johnson, British Open.
Right, that was it.
Nice payoff. Nice payoff.
That's nice.
But very quickly about that, this touches on fantasy football too, because
I bought a round of drinks and I got a royal flush at the poker table. They put $2,000 in chips on my table as a high hand bonus, and I bought drinks. Nice. I always try to get that story in, even if it's not relevant. Sorry,
I know.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's always relevant.
It's like the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
The Steelers to win the Super Bowl. What are the Steelers to win the Super Bowl? They're 18 to 1. So you look at in all these fantasy magazines, it's great because every conversation I've had in every league I'm doing, nobody mentions Ben Roethlisberger because they're all reading the exact same things, and they're all thinking, I'm going to steal Roethlisberger. But not everyone in every league is going to steal a quarterback who's running back and a receiver are going 1-2 in the most expensive league in the country, essentially.
There's a lot of people I know have him as the number 3 guy behind Rodgers and Luck, and even put him in that tier. So they don't even think he's number 3. They think he's in that one top tier, and then the next tier starts with Peyton or Breeze or Russell Wilson. I don't really see it. I mean, why is he going to be better than last year?
He's going to do what he does.
Right, and all his guys stayed healthy last year, so that was good. Right, his defense was terrible. That was good for him, fantasy-wise.
Right.
They
were behind and on the field all out.
The defense, if anything, it's not going to be worse. It could be better, might not be, but it might be substantially better. And what if Antonio Brown misses 2 games with an injury? Or what if Le'Veon Bell, he's already suspended 2 games? I mean,
I think the biggest thing is that defense. If that defense plays well and Le'Veon Bell is there and healthy, then they're going to be ahead and they're going to run.
Right, right. So, I mean, the upside is there, but I wouldn't put him in the Luck Rodgers tier.
So, winning the Super Bowl, Arizona Cardinals is your bet? And that's what this is? They beat the book in a way? Chris?
Yeah, I think, what did I say in the AFC? What was my team? The Ravens. I like the Ravens. I just think they're well coached. But if you want a crazy sleeper, like a ridiculous one, the Rams. Their D has a lot of superstar players on it.
Does.
And, Nick Foles 2 years ago put up one of the best efficiency per play seasons in NFL history. And what if something resembling that guy shows up? He's not going to be that good, but if he's a 7.7 YPA guy, who knows? And what if Todd Gurley is just a beast?
That's very true. There's a lot of rookies out there as well that could be beast, but we have to save some of that Rams talk because we have a great clip coming up regarding some of the St. Louis Rams. Don't tell J.R. Jackson. So this has been TYT Sports and RotoWire. Ben Mank's got one more
little thing, because a team I'm really into and that I'm liking, and I would never bet on them to win the Super Bowl, but a team I'm into is Buffalo. And I just want to think, this is a team that had Ryan Fitzpatrick and then went to Kyle Orton and has now gone to Matt Castle. So they've replaced Ryan Fitzpatrick with Ryan Fitzpatrick twice.
Right.
So who's the Bills quarterback next year, based on this trajectory, right? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I think I have a pretty solid pick.
I don't think Josh McCown will still be in the league, so I'm not going to say him.
But I mean, of course it's Josh McCown.
Oh, is that what you already did?
No, I didn't, but that's better.
No.
Better.
He's not going to be in the league.
Blaine Gabbert?
He'll be back to teaching school.
Blaine Gabbert hasn't been around. He's not enough of a journeyman.
He's not even
yet.
as good as those guys.
No, he's not even as good as those
He didn't
guys.
establish himself. Gus Frerotte.
Oh, Gus Frerodt's a good call too. Matt Shaw.
Not Shaw.
Matt Shaw.
No, say it isn't so.
Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. Who's winning the AFC, who's winning the NFC, and who is your bet to win the Super Bowl in the 2015-2016 NFL season? Make sure to check out Chris Liss over at rotowire.com, at BenMake77 on Twitter, and at JasonRuben91 on Twitter. TYT Sports on Twitter also, at TYT Sports.